go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connections in mind. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is the latest film in the DC Extended Universe. It is once again directed by David F. Sandberg and once again stars Zachary Levi as Shazam, the super-fied version of Billy Batson, a teenager in Philadelphia who has been given these godlike powers, and who has shared them among his foster family, who they fight crime together. However, this film focuses more on the family dynamic of internal strife within the family itself, but also a new threat in the forms of the Daughters of Atlas, who have come to not only conquer the human realm, but also to steal the powers of Shazam and his family. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, but I'll do my spoiler-free thoughts before I get into any of those. So just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. But first and foremost, let's get into Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Is it worth seeing in theaters? Is it a worthy continuation of the DCEU? Is it as good or better than the original Shazam movie from 2019? I would say this is definitely a solid follow-up to the original Shazam. I rewatched that for the first time in a couple of years prior to reviewing this new movie, and I will say it is while it may not be as good as the original Shazam, I'll get into some specifics here in a second. It is definitely, like I said, a solid follow-up, but as with a lot of sequels, the attempt to up the stakes and focus on different dynamics, but also try to recreate the magic formula that made the first film a success. There were some hit and miss results, as with a lot of sequels, and this film is no exception. But first off, let's go into what I think definitely works with this movie, and that's still the cast. I mean, Zachary Levi, he's still as charming and personable as ever. Djimon Hounsou returns as the Wizard, and he's, if you thought he may have been a bit one-note in the original, he is 100% not one-note in this one. He is, maybe he caught a little bit of the Marvel one-liner infection that's going on there, but I think in this movie it works. And also, seeing Helen Mirren as one of the Daughters of Atlas, and I know they all have names, but let's say it's just Helen Mirren, and she's amazing. That's also going on. I'll also give special props to Jack Dylan Glazer, who plays Freddy in young Freddy in this, and well, he was also a standout in the original Shazam. He also gets a lot more to do in this film as well, and we all get some interesting, character dynamics between him and other characters that he interacts with within this, and really that's where a lot of the more interesting character dynamics come from. If there's any lack of character development to be had here, I would say it's not for lack of trying per se. It's just that they're trying to cram in too much, and they're not dedicating enough time to them, to the detriment of some more interesting storylines. Like, for instance, while I said Zachary Levi as adult Shazam, adult Billy Batson is as charming as always, he gets the storyline. One of the many false storylines about this is that as Billy Batson is turning 18, he's going to age out of the foster system, and having had a lot of abandonment issues, in his life prior to this. A lot of those are coming up. It's like, all right, that's interesting, and you can see that start to play out a little bit throughout the early especially the early first third-ish of the movie, and they bring it up again very briefly near the end, but that could have had a lot more time devoted to it, and they don't. And then throughout the rest of the film, they just kind of sideline that, and other character development, things with Pedro, or things with Darcy, and there's things that they get, they like a couple of running jokes, but that's really it. And this could have been the movie that we had the opportunity to really dive into more of that. And they bring up other the slightly interesting things that we could have gone into more but don't, like Eugene has been mapping out the giant room of floating doors, and that's in the magic layer that we saw briefly in the first one, and here he's mapping out. It's like, all right, cool, what do you have to show for that? Got a couple of lines, that's it. Well, sadly that's par for the course for a lot of it, and this also extends to the villains, which, like I said, Helen Mirren, she is absolutely she's having a blast. She knows what kind of movie she's in. She's giving it all. Unfortunately, you have her paired with Lucy Liu as one of the other daughters of Atlas, and Lucy Liu, unfortunately, whether it's a script issue, I don't know, or how things are turned out, but she doesn't get a whole ton to do except being another super powerful god at this point, and that's about it. There's some genuine emotional stakes set up between for reasons why the Daughters of Atlas are going after Shazam now, but we get dived into it, and then things get kind of scrambled around. I'm trying to dance around issues so as to avoid spoilers at this point in the review. But like I said, they could have done more, and whether, I don't know if it was a script issue or what, but I think that they got some things kind of reversed, and I think that's also a bit to the film's detriment. I'll also say, while yes, I didn't expect a ton of in-depth explanations as to how certain things come to be and how some characters are back, Jaimin Hansu specifically, given that, in the spoilers for the first Shazam from 2019, but see his character, dissolve into dust right in front of Billy before he gave, right after he gave him the powers of Shazam, as Freddy says in the movie. It's like, yeah, that seems pretty definitive that he'd be dead, but he's not. They give an explanation. It's very yada yada, but it's like, all right, cool. I'm not against seeing more Jaimin Hansu in this movie. He is fantastic. Let's just get into it. Perfect. But there are other explanations and other things that do happen in this. It's like, okay, yes, they are sort of. They are giving an explanation, but we could have given more of an explanation. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of those kind of moments, and most of them are relatively minor, but they do add up. And I think also, as far as the writing goes, some of the more running jokes. One joke that if a running joke is great the first time, it's great to see it pop up again. If the running joke doesn't work the first time and you have to do it 2 or 3 more times after that, that could be a bit of an issue, and that happens a couple times in this. Like I said, I don't think this is bad. These are deal breakers by any means. However, I do say that this movie is trying to do more than the first film, and that's what sequels do. That's what they're supposed to be doing, and that's fine. However, the fact that it doesn't always work means that you could see the cracks starting to form with this, and again, we'll get to this in the spoilers, but the way this film ends, I'm of two minds about this. And one, from a storytelling standpoint, there have pros and cons at that point. But from a studio standpoint, I also have pros and cons about that, because, like I said, this is continuing in the DC Extended Universe, but this is also one of the last of the legacy DCU films we have left, due to the reorganization of DC Studios with James Gunn directing running the show now. We have this movie, we have The Flash, Aquaman 2, and I believe Blue Beetle, and those are the last of the legacy DCEU movies left. And the way this movie ends, again, no spoilers right now, but I am of two minds. I'm curious to see to hear from others as to whether or not how they react to the ending. But again, it's the nature of the beast. So had I not known any of that going into it, maybe that wouldn't have been as big a deal for me. But like I said, this film definitely has some pros and cons to it. And as to answer my original question, is this worth seeing in the theaters? Absolutely. This is definitely a definition of a crowd pleaser superhero movie that is of a different enough tone from the Marvel movies that we've been getting recently. And that's not to say that they don't have the same ingredients as the Marvel movies. You still got world-changing stakes. You got wisecracking heroes going on here. It's just that it's kind of like tuning the carburetor. The fuel air mixture there. They've got a different mixture going on with these DC films rather than Marvel. And for my money, I prefer DC to Marvel at this point with Phase 5 going on. The way it's started. If I was going to rewatch, either this movie or Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania, I'd rewatch this one before that one. So take that for what it is. And if I was going to give Shazam! Fury of the Gods a letter grade, I would say this is a solid B. It definitely had some issues, but I still had a pretty good time. And right off the heels of rewatching the first Shazam, I think anyone who does the same will have a great time as well. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, just to get this out of the way, we got the Daughters of Atlas. They create the force field dome. Very, very steep. I'm a fan of the miniseries Under the Dome series that CBS did. So Stephen King, that definitely brought to mind that. If you want to go back even further, you could go Simpsons movie on that. But for me, it's Under the Dome. It's an energy barrier rather than a glass enclosure. If you want to make that distinction. One of the plot twists that I think was a bit that it could have worked better had not something else happened, and that is the reveal of the unicorns. Now, as soon as Darla, she's said, "Oh, I love unicorns." John Hansu's in the past, she said, "You don't like unicorns. Unicorns are the most fearsome, ugly creatures in the magical realm." And it's like, oh man, we're building these things up. And by the time we find them, we get the kids after they've had their powers taken away. We'll get to that in a second. But we go through their powers taken away. You get you find the parking garage that turned into like a cave for the unicorn. And Darla's like, "Oh, come here, it's okay." And then you see everyone's like, "Oh man, what's going on? Is she all right?" And then of course the unicorn starts to charge, and it's like, "Nope, Darla, seriously, this you know what you're doing." And of course she throws up a handful of Skittles, and that's all it takes to win this bloodthirsty unicorn to their side. Which, okay, fun joke, and also pretty successful product placement, I must say. I would like to have some Skittles right now. That doesn't happen with a lot of product placements these days, but good job on them. And then we lead to, again, it makes sense plot-wise for the depowered rest of the Shazam family to use these unicorns to rout the other monsters that are terrorizing Philadelphia. But the CGI looks terrible on these things, especially when the people are riding them. And but also, come on, we saw this already with Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker with the Space Horse chase, and it was terrible in that film. And it could have been cool in this movie had that other movie not come, had Rise of Skywalker not done it first and done it terribly. But no, that just made it. That just put dampened the cool on it so much on that, and then of course you have Darla going, you're welcome to our world, mother ever, and it's like, okay, that's a cute little inappropriate moment, but I'm sorry, that does not excuse the terrible moment that we just had. So that was a bit of a wash for me, and before I get to my final thing, when we're talking about two things plot wise, one is, like I said, the Daughters of Atlas are taking the powers of Shazam. They take Freddy's first, they take Pedro's next, and then they one by one they take all the others, save for Billy's. And they could have done something really interesting with that. Having to how do they integrate the these kids. Now they know how to to fight these things without but they don't have their powers. It's kind of it actually reminds me of the first Fantastic Four, where the not Fan Four Stick, but the original Fantastic Four, where the Thing he's trying desperately. He finally frees himself from being the Thing. He gets to be human form again, but then Doctor Doom shows up, and he becomes a burden on his team, and then he decides to become the Thing again. Of course, it's a shame in that movie that takes all of 10 minutes for that to happen. But we had a whole movie where Freddy gets his powers taken away fairly early on, and we could have had a exploration at one by one the kids get their powers taken away, and it's like, oh, how do they reconcile these feelings of, all right, now I feel powerless, how does that feel? And then empathy for between them and Billy, how he's feeling powerless to a certain extent with his situation, aging out of the foster system, how sympathy for that. That doesn't get explored, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity at this point. And secondly, we have the villain issue, where the twist that Anne is the third daughter of Atlas is, first I thought that was that was very obviously set up, especially when she touches his chest. First of all, hero in your heart, you tap the heart, not center of the chest, right where the Shazam logo would be. That felt like a bit of a giveaway, and when the twist finally came, it's like, oh wait, hey, big surprise there. But that's one thing. The other thing is, I really think the main villain in the finale should have been Helen Mirren and not Lucy Liu, because Helen Mirren, she got when they're at that sit down, she's explaining, all right, violence is the answer. We're going to explain why we're coming after these kids. It's like, oh man, she gives this speech of like, imagine, someone a thief stole your property, the one thing left from your parents, and then the thief drops it, and someone else picks it up and keeps it for their own. Wouldn't you still hunt that person just to get you what's rightfully yours back? It's like, yeah, okay, I can see where this person where she's coming from, and she gave that. We have that connection with her, and. Yeah, but then they do the twist where she ends up saying, oh man, Lucy Liu is, on the warpath, we got what we came for, and now it's like, no, humanity must die, the human realm must be conquered. It's like, no, we got what we came for, we're going to plant the seed of life in our garden and rebuild, the realm of the gods. It's like, no, that's, Lucy Liu came off, again, I know her character's name, I believe, was Calypso, but again, it's Lucy Liu. We see it as Lucy Liu, she came off as one note, and then when it became time for her to go full villain, commandeer the dragon and start, mayhem in Philadelphia, that felt very unsatisfying to me, especially when she gets her comeuppance near the end, get the brief little exchange where it's like, oh man, the sister is gonna, Helen Mirren, the sister's gonna stop sister at that point, and it's like, okay, cool. Wouldn't it have been more interesting if, Helen Mirren was, she had reasoned through all this, and then when it came time to finally go far that much further, then it was Lucy Liu and Anne, who was like Rachel Ziegler, who was like, no, what's it's like, okay, we got what we came for, what's going on, and then we have to stop her, but we also have that sympathy where it's like, yes, this villain still needs to be stopped, but we also understand where they were coming from. Kind of a similar turn, with Black Panther and Killmonger at that point. So we could have had something similar along those lines. I'm not saying it's one-to-one, but we could have had something similar going along those lines. Instead, we get Lucy Liu for the majority of the climax. She's just riding the dragon. She's holding the horns of the hand, just kind of looking around and spouting one-liners. And yes, in the first Shazam, Dr. Sivana, Mark Strong's character, was also a one-note villain by the end. But we also saw, where he was coming from, how he got to that villainous turn, and that we could kind of see the layers behind the one-note villain performance. Here, we don't necessarily get that, so that's why I think we get that weakness. And that brings me to the finale, and my third point of comparison, which is Billy. Billy dies, and he gets buried, and it's like, yes, all right, that's a very sad moment. And all right, and again, knowing that we're probably not going to get another Shazam sequel with the new DC structure as it is, then this might be a problem. But then the literal demi-deus ex machina comes in, Wonder Woman, and she, resparks the staff and resparks the garden, and Billy comes back to life. Happy ending. Again, I like seeing Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I like her theme music. It's awesome. But they're kind of double dipping on the cameo, where they were already doing that in the beginning with the cameo of only showing neck down, seeing the costume but not seeing the face, and it's going to do the same kind of thing as the first one where we only got to see Superman from neck down, and then he turns around. She turns around and it turns out, oh no, it's Jabba Hansu's face on Wonder Woman's body, and he's delivering this warning. It's like, okay, that was a funny moment. I like that cameo. That was a fun little twist on expectations. But then when she shows up at the end, it's like, okay, it feels like you're double dipping on your cameo here. And to me, it feels like, again, as a fan of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it felt like that was the bare minimum that you needed to do to keep establishing the connected universe, where you have your characters doing your own thing, and then all of a sudden one character from the bigger world would show up. It's like, oh hey, good job, and then they'd go off back doing their other thing, and it's like, okay, that kind of feels like that was happening with Wonder Woman here. Again, great to see her, but yeah, that was a bit of a mixed bag for me. So also, last point, after having rewatched the original Shazam, I had never noticed the flaming violin until my rewatch this before seeing the new one, and it got me a bit of a chuckle when the flaming violin comes back in this movie twice, or once as a throwaway mention, but then as a somewhat important plot device in a crucial moment. That brought a smile to my face. So, overall, those are my main thoughts on Shazam! Fury of the Gods. What did you think of this movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which will be for John Wick Chapter 4, which comes out this week, I believe. And if you like this video, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.